And yeah, Katie. Oh, Katie has already started to record. We are in sync. Morning, everyone. As always, thank you for joining the Urban Practice Forums of the Gauteng Precinct Management Association. I'm Katle Dikobe, the General Manager. And just for those joining for the first time, these meetings are just basically a chance for us as urban management professionals, development professionals to share our best practice stories, experiences, wins, lessons, and just have a dialogue on different subject matter that is of relevance for that month. And also to invite various professionals that can share their insights on the various topics that we curate at the GPMA. And also, I say that to say you as a participant can suggest a subject matter in a future month, and then we'll just schedule that in if you feel like you need to share something very important with the network. But with that being said, the meeting will start. Um, on my side, I think obviously, KT, you can just float the minutes and then the agenda, and then we'll move from there. Let me see. I think
Thanks, Katlika. We just
okay.
need people to please mute as well.
Yeah, I'm on the patrol. I'm muting them when I can. But yeah, please do float those minutes and then the agenda, and then we'll get into it. On my side, I just received apologies from Angela. She will not be able to, Angela Rivers from Gpma, she will not be able to join us today. As always, please do take the time to look at your email address and just let us know if there's any errors so we can make sure we fix that for you. And update whatever email changes, or if you are missing, we can add you on to that. And also, if there's any points in the minutes that you'd like us to address before we get into today's session, please just let me know, and we will just address that before we get going. I'm about to put some links into the chat for our various platforms where you can connect with us to get in immediate updates on various industry activities. Okay, I see there's apologies from Michaela. She'll have to log off early. Noted. Okay, those are the minutes. Are there any points that anyone would like to raise before we flight the agenda? Okay, silence means everyone is in agreement. May you please flight today's agenda, Katie? Thank you very much. So essentially, today's session is going to center around heritage placemaking and tourism. Very excited for the speakers we have today. Very seasoned, very experienced speakers in their fields. And I think the conversation will just really strengthen what this month is all about, just from learning from their experiences and just essentially learning from all the projects they've been involved in, implementing them in our efforts right now to regenerate the inner city and Johannesburg as a whole. So, from my side here are the minutes. Any matters arising from anyone? Okay, no hands. Perfect. I know right now, today there's the mayoral visits, so I know some of our network will be in Yeovil today, assisting the COJ teams with the mayoral visit. Very jam-packed month. Please look at our websites for the calendars and updates. Tomorrow there's the platform for to secure Gauteng meeting. Yeah, there's just and then the inner city technical task team meeting the whole day tomorrow as well. So please do look at our website for these updates so that you don't miss anything. With that, I am going to bring in our first speaker. So our first Okay, I was just opening a document, sorry. So weird.
If it's me, rather
Yeah, it's
share
not
from my
opening.
side.
Yeah, please do. So our first speaker is Monica Albonico. I'm very eager to hear her presentation. She's an architect, very seasoned, very involved in a lot of precinct planning initiatives, placemaking initiatives, and obviously she will take you through her presentation, but definitely someone you should know. I'm just going to give the floor to her. She'll obviously introduce herself further, but I'm very excited for this one. And Monica, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone. There are a lot of people I know, and they know me. We have worked together. Therefore, maybe a lot of the things that I'm going to go through are extremely familiar with many of you. Let's see if I can do this.
Yeah, so you just go to the bottom there, or you can just share the slideshow by the Zoom.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yes.
For some reason it's not letting me, but
Yes, there. Perfect.
is it visible on your side?
Yes. You are a go.
Okay, this came about through a conversation at a workshop that happened quite recently, and Katerina was asking me about prison planning and our experience, and also we had the opportunity to engage around the kind of ideas and interaction that took place that was organized by the city and the World Bank. Looking at the southern prison, the M2 prison planning. I don't know how many of you were part of that event, but from my side, I mean, I found it very, very interesting to reconnect with a lot of people and also just experience how different people see our city or the ideas that they actually have, and also how they look at public participation and this kind of collective imagining of possibilities. From what I'm going to be doing, I mean, like I said, I think many of you, we know each other, therefore I don't need much of an introduction. I'm an urban designer more than an architect. I've been working in that field most of my life, obviously with an architectural background, not with a planning background, which I think is important. And I began to reflect through the work that we have done precisely on those two aspects of kind of practice. And I thought that just was quite appropriate, and like I said, prompted by that experience to reflect how the kind of principles and agendas that have been informing a lot of the work that has been done in various parts of the country. And I'm going to be taking you through some kind of key pointers that relate to the environment that you're very familiar with, which is the inner city, and I'm completely passionate about it. And another project that we've been involved in for the last almost 19, 20 years in KZN. And maybe that kind of last point is something for us to reflect together. I don't come here with any answers. I just come here to share my experience, open up some questions, and probably together find ways of engaging with the kind of opportunities that we have ahead of us, as much as the challenges that we're all very familiar with. The idea, and I must apologize for the extensive kind of text, but because Katego asked me to share the presentation, I thought it was important to give you some complete kind of description of what we're going to be looking at. And the 20th century, I mean, I think towards the end of the 20th century was a big shift on how we actually looked at urban development. And there was an important practitioner, Aldo Rossi, that Italian architect but an urbanist, that actually consolidated a very clear theory about the city and how we could actually engage with the city. And he started unpacking the idea of this urban artifacts, the artefact urbani, that looked at how the city was structured, what actually were the reference points that we could actually relate to, how we could recreate them, first understanding how the role that they play in different urban environments, and how we could actually reinterpret them. These urban artifacts they have a historical significance that relate to the culture of the place, and actually also reflected kind of an intent. And that comes, I mean, if we think about those things, come from almost the way the key part that the Romans developed to build cities throughout Europe and also north of Africa. Those things is still very much part of how we deconstruct the city and reconstruct what we trying to actually change or introduce. The other concept that we're all very familiar with is the idea of the genius loci. Is something that for us has been very important, especially in the last 30 years, of giving our cities an identity, recognizing the diversity of cultures and conditions that exist, that really brings the kind of a texture that is unique to every single urban environment. I think that also we understand this idea of landmarks, the gateways, and principles that actually been constantly used, especially when we look at the prison plans and development frameworks. Those are things that are recurrent ideas that actually begin to guide the kind of development that and frameworks and strategies that the city is putting together. The idea that we struggle with is this idea of the identity, how we identify with our city. I mean, we cannot escape our apartheid kind of history that actually fragmented the city, not only society, that is still a scar that we are struggling to reconcile. And that sense of belonging and that really sense of permanence, the citizenship that we actually trying to build is not necessarily kind of a structural aspect. It's more a condition that through different interventions we're trying to address, to activate, to heal in a way, and create environments where people feel that they belong. This kind of concept coming from Rossi, it's almost materialized into this idea of the analogous cities, where he begins to work with kind of collage aspects that begin to transform the urban environment and using new representations. And in a way, we do that as well. I mean, in a lot of the planning that has been happening in the last 20 years, that kind of idea of actually interrupting something and creating a provocation within a kind of urban condition so that we could transform, we could actually generate a reaction that could be positive and will bring change. The desires will change. Therefore, I think this almost techniques and concepts that have been embedded in the way that we've been practicing for some time now. And when we actually look at I'm talking very much about the inner city. I know that different areas in the city's got a different kind of, could be analyzed in a kind of different way. But those principles that I've just mentioned and highlighted have been really the very strong base for a lot of the precinct planning that has taken place. We did some work in 2020, 2021, where we started actually trying to analyze the different conditions of the inner city. And you can see here that this is the CBD, this is Braamfontein, this is Hillbrow. And when you start looking at the fabric of those neighborhoods, they're actually very different. And they talk about different kind of possibilities, different envelopes where the development can take place. I mean, we know that the building blocks for planning is just understanding the site, how that site relates to the block, and how that block makes neighborhoods. And you can see how different our conditions are. And we're just talking of the inner city. Imagine if we were to do this kind of exercise for the rest of the city, or we were to compare Sandton with the inner city, we will actually have completely different patterns. Therefore, I think it's understanding that each kind of section of the city not only have a different character, but from the urban development point of view, it's got a completely different structure that we need to understand and work with. That also translate into the way that the planning department saw development. From 2002, we were involved in 2002, the first precinct plan that was done in Braamfontein, and from there on, there had been numerous plans that have been done for different parts of the city. And as you can see, it's very much like a collage, that nothing really tied together. It just is working with this idea of the difference. I mean, we looked at Hillbrow, and Hillbrow identifies a different kind of environment, different kind of social issues, economic opportunities, and challenges. The same if we got into Newtown or Westgate. Each one has been seen almost in isolation. In 2020, we did a transportation master plan for the entire city, and we started looking at how that fragmentation was overtaken. There was another layer, the layer of the infrastructure that actually hold the pieces together, which is, in this case, we're talking mainly about transport, the BRT, the pedestrian, the walkable city concept, and how in certain cases that kind of continuity, that kind of layer of connectivity was interrupted. And that's where we actually can see it when we experience the city. That's you go through certain areas and all of a sudden you're in no man's land. For that connection that should have actually existed, that holistic kind of actions and propositions were somehow lost because we adopted this precinct plan approach instead of something that was actually a lot more interconnected, a lot more integrated, so that we could actually get the results that we were looking for. Doesn't mean that discard what has been done, because this was very much based on this idea of character. And celebrating the difference. And I think that level is done a lot to actually consolidate certain areas with different kind of offerings, like Braamfontein, looking at the youth as a youth precinct, Hillbrow, the kind of Afrocentric and more cosmopolitan in a kind of African sense, integrating a lot of the migrations that have taken place and trying to create spaces for that to actually flourish and to be celebrated. So it's Newtown with the kind of idea of the cultural precinct and others that are more about heritage or historical, like Gpma, and Dunfontaine with that anchor bar, the work that was done in 2010, which was very much about the World Cup and the role that sport play in the city. Just trying to do a summary of reflecting on all of that, just what actually we extracted from that exercise, from that analysis that was done. And like I was saying, I mean, I think these are the key aspects that were recurring themes in all the plans, okay? That idea of the transport-oriented development, everyone was talking about public transport, how we could actually improve it, how we can make it more connected, beyond, not only within the inner city, but also beyond. So transport for us is the kind of the only piece of infrastructure that we have to connect with the kind of apartheid city, to connect to Soweto, connect to Alex, connect to many places that were completely excluded from the benefit of urbanity. And also at the more local level, the pedestrian network, the understanding that the city is, the pedestrians are really the one that should be prioritized, because most people in the inner city walks from places of arrival, but also from places where they reside to places where they work. Therefore, the walkability issue was recognized and prioritized. What is also started happening is with the land use changes that were taking place, begin to recognize that we couldn't talk about residential, business, or commercial only, but we started embracing this idea of the mixed use as a land use that should actually be identified and incorporated into the land use scheme. And find mechanisms to actually maximize the opportunities for that kind of layering of activities, from ground floor retail to some kind of commercial and residential, which in many cases that has been done very successfully in projects that have been done from 2000 to today. The other thing was looking at how we could start introducing new amenities to make the areas more user-friendly, more attractive through landscaping and also urban furniture. The idea of the branded space was also quite interesting, because we weren't only competing globally. Everyone will remember in the beginning of the 2000s, we were all competing. We want to be Barcelona. We wanted to be better than London or Sydney, or that competition between cities. That's why Johannesburg became this kind of that global concept of how Johannesburg could be positioned at that level. Therefore, and that was very much about branding the city, finding elements and introducing new elements that will make the city more competitive at the kind of global level. In our context, the idea and the reality of what was happening on the ground was also brought us to this, the realization that without safety and security, we couldn't really brand the city. We couldn't really achieve the kind of transformation and marketing of the city as we envisaged. Therefore, we needed to do something that was using technology that was beginning to emerge there, to other techniques and other ways through management and institutional arrangement, that we could actually find ways of ensuring that development could actually happen, will be supported by appropriate management and institutional arrangements. I mean, I think, like I said, all of you are completely familiar with those aspects, and I think it's important to reflect on that. I mean, how things have changed since we started thinking how we could improve the city, and also since the city started changing at exponential level. Okay, we talk about the rate of change today, but let's look back and think what was the city in the 80s and what is the city today. The number of people, the diversity of activities, the diversity of conditions that we actually having to incorporate into our thinking, if we have to actually come up with some kind of effective strategies to move forward. This was also quite interesting at the time. Again, this was, I think, 2019, 2020. These were just key projects that they were happening. As you can see, in blue, that I don't know if you can see those little blue areas. Those were other the walkable network or interventions that the JDA was doing, which was identified as the kind of public sector intervention, and the reds were the private sector interventions. And in some cases they overlap, in many cases they didn't. Therefore, I think, again, looking at the disconnect between, we all talk about cooperation, we all talk about working together, and yet when we actually start mapping out what is happening on the ground, we see this serious disconnect. And we wonder why we're actually not achieving the kind of impact that we were hoping to achieve. What is quite relevant is the public transport infrastructure that you can actually see that is cutting across the entire area. Not so much the south. As you can see, the south is completely and hasn't actually been incorporated into the kind of access network that has been created. In the exercise that we did for the city, this was mapping different conditions, and they were done in two phases. One related to an economic development strategy that was done for the economic development unit, and subsequently was taken forward to incorporate it into something that we did for the city transformation in actually preparing layers in GIS of information that could be made accessible to everyone working in the city. That kind of platform is still in progress. It's taking time for the city to put it all together and to make it accessible, but the information is there. And obviously the idea is this, we're talking 2020, 2021, and we're in 2025. So many things have changed. Therefore, how we continue to map these things. I think for me, it's not so much what I'm saying, but the importance of actually being able to map out where the city is working and where the private sector is going, because that is actually the kind of starting point for a conversation that we should be having. Again, I mean, I think that just zooming into the fabric of the city and looking at the impact that those infrastructure have had, we have seen in the previous map that public transport, the BRT, all of those interventions were critical for connecting the different parts of the inner city. And we're looking at how the conditions actually were represented. And in this exercise, we were looking at how far those interventions have gone. I mean, in integrating universal access, integrating, encouraging retail and commercial activities on the ground floor, just testing, because in our policies, we talk about kind of mixed use, but yet in many cases, because of the town planning restrictions and bylaws, certain objectives couldn't be achieved. Therefore, this was, again, an exercise of actually interrogating not only the interventions at the overall level, but also just going down onto how was translating in the different areas and the impact that was making in terms of economic opportunities or vibrancy, comfort of pedestrians moving through these areas, safety of pedestrian crossing, because we talk about safety and normally we think about crime. But the kind of road safety is critical. More people die and get hurt in the inner city than front traffic-related incidents than front just normal crime. I'm not saying that it's not important, but I'm saying that this is something that is critical. When the pedestrian doesn't know where to cross, and you actually crossing a main transport route, that has become something that we all have to think about and be concerned about. Another aspect that, again, I mean, I think this is something that comes across very clearly when you look at the public spaces in our environment. We have a very high densities. We have an increasing number of residential accommodation that has been provided, formal and informal. And yet, in our inner city, we got a complete disproportionate areas dedicated for recreation, for also just in ecological purposes, having green areas that could actually support that very high densities that we have been encouraging. This was something that we taken to also further with parks departments and trying to understand the kind of standards. I mean, the world standards is talking about 9 square meter per capita as something that is an ideal. We're talking about the World Health Organization. And when we actually did this assessment, we came up with there's just 0.9 square meter per capita in our inner city. And in discussions with planning department and also with parks department, they were just saying, no, with the 9 square meter, we'll never achieve that. Therefore, what we have actually targeted is 2.4 square meter per capita. But you can see the disconnect between 0.9 to 2.4. We have a lot of work to do. And it's something that has not been prioritized. You will see in a lot of the work that has been currently been promoted. It's wonderful mixed use, a lot of different placemaking, and yet the kind of ecological aspect of bringing greenery into the inner city hasn't been prioritized. And we, at some point when we looked at the corridors along the transportation corridors, we thought that those transportation corridors could also be used as green lands. There's been in many cities in the world, not only have introduced public transport, but also together with the public transport, there's been an incredible amount of greenery in form of like law and tree planting and law landscaping being provided in our environment, in our kind of infrastructure. When we developed that, we didn't get to the point of actually incorporating a significant kind of percentage of greenery. We have a tree here and there, but it's really not significant. Therefore, I think for me, this is something that is still quite critical for us to fight for in the inner city. The connectivity, the changing the kind of environmental and ecological quality of the inner city so that we can support all that mixed use and formal and informal activities that somehow will support employment and will support livelihoods. This is and this is just an expression. The image on the right is in 2000 and I think it was 2008. This photograph. The image on the left is 2024. the stolen spaces and the little squares and the little parks that we have been able to develop, we're still struggling with management, we're still struggling with support. None of these spaces have ever been maintained, supported. There's no ownership, because parks, in terms of town planning, this doesn't belong to parks, doesn't belong to roads, doesn't belong to whatever. But the kind of outcome of all of that, I mean, all the fragmentation and the silos that we know that exist in the way that the cities manage, the result is that places like this that are so important, especially in Braamfontein, since the days that student accommodation has become the driving kind of pattern of the area, which is fantastic, because this idea of the youth present is beginning to get realized. We have not incorporated any new infrastructure for 20 years. If I think it's, again, those things are important to reflect on, and continues to just collectively forms kind of strategies that we could actually go back to the city and trying to re-engage with whoever is prepared to listen, or find other mechanisms. I mean, I know that not today with Josie My Josie is another mechanism to actually be proactive and very effective in making a difference. It is tackling issues that or aspects that the city is not able to do. And from that, I mean, this is just as one of the many. This was a proposal that we did for North Street, and that's the gallery. It doesn't matter. I mean, in terms of envisioning the city, I think greenery has to be an integral part of where we're going in the future, because together with that, it can support many other activities. There are children in the city, in the inner city. And I mean, something that I didn't highlight when I show you the map of the public spaces, we only have built 3 new public squares in the inner city since 2020. Sorry, since 2000. And we have redone many, but we have only extended the kind of infrastructure by 3 little, one, the park next to the Nelson Mandela Bridge, and 2 other small squares. None of them properly maintained, none of them properly managed. And yet, I mean, quite in the fringes. I mean, most of them happen like leftover spaces that they weren't quite sure what to do with them. In any case, I think it's good. I'm really very much in support, or to see that something has been done, but it's not enough. It's not enough for the kind of the needs that are and the requirements of a place like the inner city, where so many people actually have made it their home. Now I'm going to take you through the work that we've done in KwaZulu-Natal. And this is very much, it's an opportunity to start reflecting on new agendas. Okay? And there are new agendas, again. I know that in the audience there's planners and people that are actually directly involved with projects and promoting different kind of ideas. And this is just the kind of more contemporary principles that we all use when we're looking at opportunities, large development, green fields, or even in the retrofitting. We're looking at the sustainability and resilience that may very much about reducing the carbon footprint, integrating green infrastructure, and promoting renewable energy. The human-centered design, similar to what was, I mean, that was more like, it's a new word for placemaking. I think the idea is that it's more about not the character of the place, but the kind of the ecological conditions, the comfort, that those new propositions could actually bring in terms of changing the way that humans actually relate to those particular neighborhoods, precincts, or areas. Then the idea of equity and inclusivity. I mean, this is if even Spluma is pushing that kind of agenda. And for us, it's very, very relevant coming from where we come from. Therefore, I think that is how we do it, how we actually making the cities much more accessible. It's not only, and those are the universal access opportunities, taking into account people with different needs, different priorities, and looking at the kind of the right for people to be in the city. Okay, this concept of the right to the city, again, is something that's been used in a lot of the academic work that has been done, and how that translates into the kind of propositions that we can come up with. The integrated public transport, we also, and it's not only about buses, it's not only about taxis, it's also the cycling lanes, and the walkability network that has been proposed and incrementally being implemented in different areas. Again, the idea of the kind of dense and compact development. We continue to believe in the idea of that identity and cultural preservation is quite important. People that actually live in particular areas that have got different ways of engaging with the city, different religious belief, those kind of needs should actually be preserved and provided for. And I think a lot more now is we started talking about the smart cities and the technological kind of the rapid technological changes that are going to have a direct impact on how we live, how we work, how we engage. And this, the number 7 is very much a focus of discussion these days through AI and other conversations. The last ones is about economic vibrancy. In our context, we need to understand, I don't know if any of you just attended the book launch of The Chaos Present, presented by Dr. Tanya Zak. I think it's an interesting, it's a fascinating book because talk about the Ethiopian present in the inner city and describe in a lot of details with a lot of sensitivity how people actually, the economy of that place, the contribution that makes to our economy, and also the contribution that makes to Ethiopians in Ethiopia. Therefore, I think that connection across borders is so important because we don't actually live in isolation. I think our connections with the rest of Africa is critical, and also making spaces that, as we used to celebrate the Chinatown, today we should be able to celebrate little Addis or whatever names people decided to give them. The last 2 points is the need for adaptability. Again, that is something that is a discussion that is ongoing, from adapting buildings to adapting kind of neighborhoods to change, to think of structures and ways of managing different areas that are flexible and always and fluid, constantly respond to the changes that are actually taking place. For me, this number 10 is critical: health and well-being in the city, and that takes us back to that point that I was making in terms of the inner city and the lack of parks and greenery and spaces, healthy spaces for people to relax and to engage with. As a way also to deal with our pollution that we're all very familiar with. For I think those 10 new kind of principles, some summarize what we used to think in the kind of previous decades and bring us to something that is a lot more contemporary and actually reflect to what the world is talking about, and especially if we think about the World Bank or the UN Habitat. Those are the kind of principles that you will see in most of the interventions and strategies and agendas. We're going to a completely different environment. This is Umhlanga Rock. For those that know, this is kind of Durban North. There's a big development that has taken place in the form of a big shopping center, which prompted the development of a mixed-use area that has been unfolding since, I think it was 1990 when they started. And we were invited to participate at the competition, and we won the competition for a very large piece of land that is the one. Sorry, let me just show you this space here. As you can see, very large with absolutely amazing sea views and very well connected to the other infrastructure that Tombo Hewlett was developing at the time. And I think in the competition, what we're actually looking at, the development area was, I think, 130 hectares. And we were looking at this kind of idea of the palimpsest or the layers, of the interconnected layers, where the different kind of uses and aspects will be considered. We looked at the recreation, how they could actually function, the idea of the different, how the site will actually connect to the other nodes, the ecological value of the site and how that could actually be preserved, the hydrology of the area, and obviously the climatic conditions and landforms and views. I mean, I've been a Johannesburg, a Chogo person. The idea of views, I mean, and I've never imagined that will be such an incredible driver and will make us think so differently. And I'll take you through some of the things that we needed to do. The idea was to, it was at that time, there was just some theory about eco-urbanism, and that's what we actually apply, so that we could actually look at the preservation of a large area. At the time that we started working on this, there was an intact piece of coastal forest, which was something that was, for us, critical to preserve, and how we could actually develop different prisons and different offerings that will complement the kind of expansion of that node that was being established, but at the same time deeply connected with a kind of an ecology that is unique to the area. And this was our thinking. The sketch on the right-hand side is something that we did in 2008, imagining the kind of city that we could actually develop, or part of the city that could be developed, and how all the prisons could be connected through this environment that we call it the green tea then, and we still haven't come up with a better name. This is the overall area. This is Prison 1. This was done some time ago. There's a lot more development actually had happened. This is the shopping center, Gateway Shopping Center, for those that are familiar with this area. This is Prison 3, which is mainly offices. And this is what we call the green tea. This is mainly residential, and this is also residential. And this is mixed use with hotels and rental apartments. And this is the one that is almost completed. There are like 3 new projects on this site. And this area is all complete except some sites on this corner. And as you can see, the guidelines that we needed to come up with had to deal with how we protect the views from one side to the next, how we actually create either frame views or open views, and how that could be completely entrenched and incorporated into the guidelines, that there will be no contestation. I think for those that are in that kind of area of work, guidelines are incredibly useful, but they're only useful if you're prepared to implement them and defend them. Otherwise, they become beautiful kind of reports that go nowhere. In this particular case, there's a very strong management association that has been in place since the beginning, and that is something that Tongo Hewlett really was very much instrumental in setting up, with incredibly well put together guidelines that really deals with absolutely everything from design to management to ecological aspects, and we continue to refine them based on the kind of negotiations or based on the new legislation that we actually coming up, so that the guidelines are always relevant. But again, I think what is important is to have the kind of the decision that the developers made in this particular case, that the development will be guided through a very strong management association that will be able to enforce those guidelines. I think the overall bulk that was allocated to this development was 550,000 square meter. We have developed at the moment, I think we are around 300,000. As you can see, it's actually a very substantial node that has been created, because this is just simply complement other areas that has been done next to the Gateway shopping center. And I can see that I need to speed up my presentation. This is just, as you can see, these are just the mean sea levels, and these were things that we had to model for many years to ensure that there was just some kind of articulation, and you could actually create some views through the different developments depending on the location. And then when the developers are coming with their proposal, we'll actually test it. We'll actually recreate these models and test if they were adhering to the kind of guidelines that were established. All of this has been an ongoing negotiation. I mean, I don't want to give the impression that we wrote the guidelines 20 years ago and they're still the same. I think constantly been understanding how things could actually work, how minor adjustments could actually be introduced to benefit the development that was being proposed. I mean, that's why the design guidelines, they're not bylaws or strict kind of conditions. You're actually trying, through design, negotiate the best outcome for everyone involved. And this is just how it's beginning to translate. This is the mixed use, hotel and commercial, a lot of offices. Now we got two, this is a residential and hotel development, and then now there are two towers that are not part of this photograph that are mainly residential. Therefore, the mix doesn't happen so much on like retail, ground floor retail and offices and residential, but very much about mixing horizontally. And obviously trying to create an environment that will be supportive of pedestrian kind of connections. We in managing this development, we went through the 2008 economic crisis. We went through the COVID, like many others. Therefore, every single time that this economic crisis, almost the whole thing just stops. Nobody is investing, and slowly start reconnecting with developers and investors, looking at the new mix, because obviously COVID brought about a whole new thinking how people develop. and form a very strong relationship with the developers. We're constantly in consultation. We run workshops like brainstorming, so that we could actually make sure that what we promote and how we actually incorporate new requirements are properly integrated into the framework and also is reflected in the guidelines. And I just, there's some kind of images, the critical things in this kind of developments were how we activate the area, how we actually make sure that the developments have got this kind of just civic manners, that they really present themselves in a kind of friendly and people-centered kind of way, so that the kind of the activation of the public space happen through occupying those threshold space. This is not the inner city. This is completely different. This is tourists. This is holiday makers. Is a very different occupation. How kind of internal spaces connect to the city, how we create references constantly where between what has been built and also the kind of city we want to create. Every single opportunity to introduce greenery. This is a parking lot and the first story, how we can actually create pockets of greenery so that soften the environment. And also this is Durban, therefore greenery is very important to filter the heat and to create much more, a better kind of comfort conditions. And in this kind of development, all of this is part of the development. This is a Holiday Inn. This is a wonderful project that was done by Paragon. And again, for me, as an urban designer with a background as an architect, working with people that actually understood the kind of ethos of the development and contributing enormously to create like very accessible public spaces, clear thresholds, incorporating landscaping that was protecting the areas that needed to be private, but at the same time allowing people to filter through and enjoy this very well maintained and very well conceptualized kind of forecourt or square. It was really a real pleasure to be able to have been able to have that kind of conversation with the architects and also with the developer that allow these things to happen. And so you can see, I mean, how fluid the square is. It's actually on a corner, a very prominent place. And one of the things that we really had to just fight like crazy to continues to create spaces that will cut across so that pedestrian could use like lanes and the access lane that were littered and well looked after as a way of connecting. The terrain is very, very steep. I mean, going towards the kind of the sea. Therefore, the kind of what you know constantly negotiating are just very strong level changes. And what we were trying to do is make sure that we were creating this kind of places of less resistance, so the pedestrian could get to where they want to go in a base and more direct way. This guy is going to a transport taxi and bus stop that is just behind where I will be. And just look, this is the commercial precinct, and again, that all the buildings are open. The street is well maintained, heavily planted with parking, so that we could create some kind of activation along that street edge. And every single, this is Malcolm. This is my superhero. He's the manager. And an incredible character, completely determined to make this happen. And every single thing gets negotiated, get checked, and get discussed with the developer, with the landscape architect, with the architects. Therefore, it's a very involved team that actually constantly is looking at how best to respond to what the developer wants, but at the same time, not losing what we actually trying to achieve in the entire area. And this is just images that I've just brought for you. This is the way, this is that image that I show you. This is how it's translating. And since many of you will know that Django Hewlett has collapsed, therefore, for the last 3 years, we've been on our own with a management association trying to find ways of continuous to do what we actually we're trying to achieve. And it's more now like tactical urbanism, where we bring in some elements into this park. We're building an amphitheater. This amphitheater is, the photograph wasn't very good, that's why I hasn't actually brought it to you, but it's been built. With very little resources, with the contribution that some of the developers are making. And obviously our grand plans had to be scaled down to what we can actually achieve. But we're not giving up on what we were trying to achieve. And I think that's mainly the point that I'm trying to make. These are the kind of the ponds that we have had been built that actually contribute to the irrigation of the entire landscaping area, and also has brought we got game that has been reintroduced into this area, obviously compatible to the kind of ecology of the coastal forest. And it's also just absolutely amazing environment. Most of the buildings are looking into this. They're not only looking into the fabulous sea views, but also this kind of internal, unique environment that they're connected to. And this is again Malcolm and I, the little team that is constantly trying to look at how we deal with irrigation, how we complete the kind of vision that was proposed for the entire development. As you can see, this is sea views. Therefore, this is not just any park. You're sitting here having a picnic, and you're having these absolutely magnificent views, and in a condition, in a very protected environment, and very special for the area. As I said, every single thing gets negotiated. We go and beg to the different developers to help us to build a bridge, and this is a bridge, pedestrian bridge. Now this is cycling and walking and running, track that has been introduced. This is a bridge that we needed to connect two sections, and together, I mean, in a constant dialogue, we're beginning to really realize this kind of overall area. This is the coastal forest that has been cleaned, is maintained, the cameras that are embedded in the forest so that they can actually be a safe area for the residents to actually walk through. And we've been cleaning all the alien vegetation, trying to bring the coastal forest to kind of former glory and with integrity, and also create an enormous amount of work opportunities for local people, which has been employed and consolidating all of that. And this is it. I mean, I think we this also using different strategies to clean the water, and we're constantly experimenting and listening to new ideas that could help us to maintain and consolidate the kind of the different projects as we envisage. I think this is an interesting quote. I mean, in an ecocity, nature is not a distant backdrop, but an integral part of urban life. And that for me shouldn't be just KwaZulu-Natal, shouldn't be just places where you go the tourist destination. Our city should also be, should actually take advantage of what nature can actually offer. And I think that's why I brought these two different kind of projects together. And the final remark is, I think is about the role that we can play as architects, planner, developers, managers. I think is a kind of agency that we actually adopt in how not only envision it is bringing new ideas, but also how we can actually translate those ideas, how collectively we can translate. Like I said, what we doing in Natal, we could have never done it if it wasn't for the association that is constantly supporting what we're actually trying to achieve. This is on the right-hand side is a beautiful Echimba friend of mine, Senso Shabangu, that actually I've learned a lot from him. And it's just really something that we understand in kind of the people that live in the city, and yet we actually have a governance that is completely upside down and almost distance from the real needs of what people that we're actually building for. And that is I think it's the last one. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I just went over time.
No, don't be sorry, Monica. Thank you for that presentation. I mean, yeah, I am impressed is really an understatement. You put in so much work, and I was learning so much from your presentation, just to say the least. I'm just gonna open up the floor to any comments or questions for Monica from the attendees. Okay, I will have the first bite, right? It was very interesting for me, going to the inner city of Johannesburg that, um, as always, there's so many great plans that have been conceptualized, really linking to the master plan and, the various precinct plans that you've been involved in. And right now, there's the mayoral visits happening in Yeovil, and the Bellevue area. So I just wanted to understand just any inputs you would have in terms of Yeovil and your involvement in the precinct planning and over there. And then I'll just bring in Andrew.
Thanks. Yes, we were involved in Yeovil in the early days when the market was done, and also the upgrading of the community center, and we did the library there. And we did the first iteration of the actually, that was the first prison plan that was done, but at the time was the urban design department of Johannesburg, in the council. Aline Siegel was the head of the department. If I'm talking, maybe Andrew remember her. And it was looking at how the area was changing, and also the need to accommodate the traders, improve the kind of the social and education infrastructure. But that was many years ago. We haven't actually been involved more recently. We lived in Joburg, in that area. We had our offices on Rocky Street for many years. Therefore, we very, very familiar with the area, what it was, what is today, and the challenges that are facing.
Thanks. Andrew, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Kahedlo. And Monica, once again, incredible insights, work that you're doing. It's quite lovely to see what you have achieved. And we're getting to the point, I think you say many years ago with Arlene Siegel, we're starting to see the outcomes of work that has been done over the decades. And I think it's fantastic to see how some of it has worked. But it's very concerning when you talk about only 3 new public open space areas. And what went through my mind is, how many have we lost through the lack of management, through the lack of care by our city and the responsible departments. And I think the importance of open space, which you brought through, cannot be stressed enough. And it's not only in our established, developed areas, but the peripheral areas and the leafy suburbs, as they like to call them. But it's the green spaces that we are desperately trying to look after and save. And I wonder if there's not a stronger role for precinct managers to start looking not only within their areas, but also on the periphery of the areas to make sure that these open spaces, like in the Rosebanks and along Oxford Road and through the hill brows and the barriers, that we'd make every effort to protect them and renew them and integrate. We talk about integrated transport. We must talk about integrated open space as being a priority. And your example of the Mhlongo area and how you've integrated open space and parks there, it was lovely to see. But I think there's a desperate need for us as precinct managers to be responsible and accountable for some of our open spaces, and as developers not to get greedy and try and develop everything. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm completely in support of what you're saying. And if there's any kind of group that you decide to put together, I will be there.
Thank you for that, Monica, and putting your hand up. I couldn't agree more with Andrew. I couldn't agree. Michaela?
Thank you. And I think that it's really important for us to be thinking about these spaces and the alternatives and how these types of design interventions can actually function as a catalyst for how we want the city to work and how we need the city to function. And I think just off the back of Andrew's statement, I think it's really important and part of the dialogue that we need to be having from an urban management perspective with the city is that co-ownership of space, particularly within that public open environment. I think that increasingly we're challenged with our lack of mandate within the precinct space. And the limitations that we have in terms of what we are able to do and what we are able to enforce and how we're able to activate spaces does become limited because of the restrictions and the fact that those spaces fall under the purview of the city. So I do think it's important that in conjunction with those conversations and when we're looking at design and when we're looking at putting an urban management plan in place for a particular space, either greenfield or existing city spaces, we really need to be asking the question of our city counterparts, what authority are they going to be able to delegate to the precinct? How are we going to be empowered as district members to actually implement certain elements within a space? Where is there a degree of flexibility? So we know, for instance, it's incredibly difficult to get anything out of the ordinary approved by JRA, for instance, things like a pedestrian crossing or traffic slowing so that we can actually reprioritize our streets so that therefore pedestrians first and for the most vulnerable first, we're often met with barriers in terms of very restrictive either policy or process that really makes it difficult for us to try and achieve these objectives. So I think part of the dialogue that we need to be having and sensitizing the departments, and JRA is a particular one, is really how do we start enabling some degree of flexibility, either in the mandate or in the policy and the implementation of these spaces that can actually start allowing us to tactfully transform these environments. I think the biggest challenge we have is a complete lack of resource at all levels. It would be fantastic to be building a central park type park within the inner city of Johannesburg, but we know that that's not going to happen with the current resource that the city has. But there are opportunities that we can be leveraging development, leveraging bulk contributions. And those dialogues really require very clear public-private partnership, so that we can start enabling and advocating for those things with an incentive of mandate. That in doing this, there is some incentive. In doing this, there is some control, or some access or some revenue generation that is possible in those different levels of flexibility in the parking requirements, whatever those conditions are. So I think that those are certain things that we need to start opening the dialogue with the city to understand where are the areas we can test these alternative implementation mechanisms, that we can start transforming our public spaces to this type of ideal environment, and not be so restricted by the clear adherence to who can do what and what the kind of conditions should be. I think that that's where we're facing a lot of pushback in our spaces. So that's an important conversation to get going.
Thanks for that, Michaela. Couldn't agree more. Really, the structure of the public-private partnerships needs to really be looked at. I'm going to put someone on the spot. Tariq, I wanted to see if you wanted to come in from someone who's been tasked with really figuring out how to revitalize the various CBDs. What are your takeaways from this work that kind of has been placed in front of us by Monica in terms of the key principles that should be prioritized in the process of revitalization? Tariq, are you there? Actually? He's away from his computer. But then I will bring in Mr. Earl Stolz. I just wanted to hear your thoughts in terms of the key findings that Monica really presented in terms of inner city precinct plan analysis. I think right now the focus is really on bylaw enforcement, and I think just from your point of view, how do we now get in and really focus on the urban fabric and reprioritizing, the resurgence of green spaces and partnership structures around green spaces. As I know, obviously, it's a city parks focused initiative. But just from your thoughts, how can we kind of operationalize this and get it to the right ears?
Thank you, Katlego. Yeah, so I'm really not going to get into it. I'm actually a fly on the wall in this meeting. But yeah, so I think there's definitely alignment with what was presented in terms of our public environment upgrades, especially in the inner city core. So I think a lot of it has to firstly do with our development planning department. I think all of you know Ayanda and her team. And so we'll filter this back to them. So when you give the presentations, we normally do have our closed door discussions with the project managers. And these are some of the things I'll present to the project teams at our CapEx forum, regional CapEx forum committee, which will
Who think got accidentally disconnected. Let me just ring him. Yes, he's back.
I'm back. Someone removed me from the meeting. I
Yeah,
don't think
sorry
they
for
wanted
that.
me in the meeting.
Yeah, you were talking about the regional meetings. You wanted to present these.
Yeah, well, not at the regional meetings, basically at our CapEx forum meetings with our project managers, especially those
Yes.
doing developmental projects. especially around public environment upgrades, etc. I think that's where we will realize the implementation of these type of thinkings and initiatives. I think around the parks, and there is a process of adopting parks through the Joburg City Park Zoo business unit. So that I think is already underway. There's a few parks that JMJ have also adopted, and various other private sector partners have put in their applications for adopting open spaces. So that process is there. So I think greening, it forms part of all our public environment upgrade projects. It comes natural that when we do these projects, we would identify areas for greening, whether it's tree planting or the use of shrubs or any other greening vegetation that's available. But that's done in close collaboration with the Joburg City Park Zoo in terms of the types of trees, etc. So that's available. The adoption of parks are available. And there's an application process, and then you are then adjudicated by that unit, and then they would then obviously allow the partnerships in parks and certain open spaces. So that's up and running. So yeah, operationalizing this, like I said, I think it would be beneficial if we get some of these presentations done at our forum. I think it would be beneficial to all of those. So the major projects, obviously, is the Lelelingwe upgrade. We're now moving into phase 2. We're busy wrapping up snagging on phase 1. Everybody saw that the mayor launched basically. The opening will officially take place then on the 12th of September, where people will actually now will be open to the public, your Bree Street, which is now complete. And then we move into phase 2 and 3, which will then see also that road being upgraded up until Ntemi Peliso and up to N Street. So it will be the entire Lelelingwe strip will basically look very similar to what you saw yesterday. Then we're moving to phase 2 and 3 now, which is now the public environment upgrade. And that's obviously now the furniture, the planters, the trees, the greening. So all that takes place now as phase 2, and then phase 3 is then the extension, further extension of the paved network, like I said, to Ntemi Peliso and to N Street. And then we've got the Desmond Tutu precinct. That upgrade is coming up. Those designs have also been completed. I think one of the key things that is currently taking place is just finding synergy because it's in close proximity to the Lelelingwe project. So those two project teams are now engaging on ensuring that in terms of the Desmond Tutu upgrade, public environment upgrade, that there's synergy with the Bree Street or the Lelelingwe upgrade, and then as well as the what do we call this thing, the High Court precinct public environment upgrade. So there's quite a few of these upgrades that have taken place. We've done Fox Street. I think we're finalizing Holt Street, and there's quite a few streets based on the walkable network. So we'll take cognizance of this, and then we'll find its life in those projects. But I think, yeah, if we get copies of the presentations, it will be nice to share it with the project team, just for food for thought, because that's what it basically is. And then, yeah, that's how we can find expression, Katlego.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Yeah, Monica, I will share the presentations with you after the meeting. But yeah, from Monica's side and our side, I just wanted to thank you, Monica, for presenting so many lessons from your presentation, key insights, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people in the network really wanting to look over your presentation and rope you in wherever necessary. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I really know that what Earl and the team is doing. Therefore, I just want to express my gratitude and admiration for his contribution to the city. And keep going, Earl.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. So now we'll just move into the second agenda item. Now we're just going to have a presentation from the south of Johannesburg. Business and tourism. They go by SOJO. The CEO has graciously joined us today, Mrs. Nicky. So I will just give the floor to her, just to take us through their campaign that they have lined up for September, and also just a brief outline around SOJO and the work that they do. So, Nicky, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katlego. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you to Monica. Loved your presentation and all the input from Andrew Barker and Michaela. Us in the south of Johannesburg face exactly the same issues and challenges. And we would love to engage with you, Monica, to see how we can also place the south of Joburg on the map. And I think that is what I'm here for, to present to you today, is to show you what's already been achieved since the forum's inception 27 years ago, and excite you a little bit about what we've got lined up for Tourism Month. Katlego invited me specifically to talk about the September month being World Tourism and the heritage in the south of Johannesburg. So I hope you've all got something to snack on. Katlego, if I may ask you to play the movie. So what we did in 2021, we were invited by SA Tourism to present to 5 different international countries what the south of Johannesburg has to offer. We didn't want to just put a PowerPoint presentation together, so we got a voiceover and we put a professional short movie, which is about 15 minutes, and we presented to America, Europe, Australia, and Africa. So just enjoy this little clip, which will give you a real insight about our heritage, various heritage sites, destinations, tourism destinations. Sadly, some of our investors and assets have moved out. So this is a 2021. We do need to upgrade it a little bit, but please sit back and enjoy before I explain what our tourism month is about. Thank you, Katlego. Is the volume not working?
There's no sound.
No sound. Let me see now. Is it coming through now?
No, still can't hear anything, Katlego.
It's so loud on my side, actually. Let me see. Now, let me see.
There's still no sound.
Still no sound. Oh my gosh. Nicky, are you able to share it on your side to see? Let's see if there's sound on your side.
I will try, Katlego. Let me see.
Just for a final test, is there still no sound?
You were almost there.
Is the sound coming out?
No, I don't I don't see anything now.
Okay. Yeah, Nikki, just I think just attempt to send it on your side. But if all else fails, I'll just leave the link for anyone who wants to watch the video. But just one attempt from your side, and then if the sound doesn't
Yeah, it's pity.
yeah. But if you're unable to share it, let's just go into your presentation, and then I'll leave the link for this video on our website somewhere for any interested attendees. Such a pity. But yeah, Nikki, if you are able, should I share your presentation on my side, or are you able to flight it?
If you can, I seem to be battling.
Must I start with the profile one?
Yes, you can. If you can, that'll be great.
Okay, let me just share. And
Okay,
here we go.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. As I mentioned, we were established in 1998. You can page down.
Okay.
We have our board of directors and our area representatives. We represent 8 different precincts in the south of Johannesburg. Can you hear me? I'm echoing a little bit there.
Yes.
Katlego, I think you need to mute now.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, much better. Okay, great. Keep paging, Katlego. Katlego, can you hear me? You can just keep paging, right? These are just the responsibilities of the area representatives. You can keep paging. Right, we do supplementary services to the city of Johannesburg, so we employ our own staff. We pick up around about 2,000 bags of litter from main arterial roads, and we collect our bags from Pick It Up. We're grateful for the partnership. Page on. So the reason why we started our vision, obviously, is for an attractive south of Johannesburg and our relationship with the city of Johannesburg to improve its infrastructure and create safe spaces and a clean environment to engage with our business partners and a safe environment. So those were some of our challenges, as you can see in the photographs, that we continue to have. When we began the forum in 27 years ago, we were called the Boyson's Business Forum, and we merged together with the Southern Business Partnership to call it the South of Johannesburg. So we focus on 4 main pillars under the SOJO business and tourism, being our operational and service delivery. We have regular reporting of council issues to the city of Johannesburg. We've got an in-house structure where we keep reference numbers. We keep the city of Joburg accountable for issues that they need to attend to. We also work together with Vumacam to create public space safety. We've put along Klip River Drive about 10 poles with 19 Vumacam cameras for the safety of this precinct. We rolling this public space safety in all our 8 precincts. We've also got Ayrton that we're focusing on now, as well as Boysons and Turfentine. Our third pillar is our tourism, which I was trying to showcase on the movie. We drive tourism and economic growth in the south of Johannesburg. And our fourth pillar is our foundation that we've recently formalized, called the SOJO Helping Hands Foundation, to drive our business partners CSR funding to do social and economic development in the south of Johannesburg. Our foundation promotes sustainable environment, which is food security. We're working closely with homeless people that are vulnerable, to create a community farm where we taught them skills, how to sustain themselves, to feed themselves, as well as to learn the entrepreneurship skills through education and training, which is our second pillar in the foundation. and youth development and engagement on how we encourage the young people to integrate them into trade. And then we've got our SMME supporting smaller businesses that we have on our forum as well. You can page on, Katlego. Our strong relationship with the City of Johannesburg and all its departments, as Earl has indicated, we would love to see a lot more work being done around certain areas like the Nasrec precinct, especially with the G20 happening just around the corner. I loved what Monica presented in terms of creating beautification in the areas. We haven't seen any of that yet in the south and in our gateway areas, the main arterial areas that are coming into the south of Johannesburg. Perhaps we can have this conversation, Earl, to see what has been done in the south of Joburg. It was quite sad to see that Monica had mentioned there aren't many places, or the south of Johannesburg that doesn't actually showcase in her studies. We would love to engage with you deeper and see how we can roll out your work that you're doing here in the south. And of course, I did mention the safety and security and the services that we work together with our council, service delivery departments, and law infringements. Katlego, you can page. All right, so these are the areas, the 8 precincts that I mentioned. It's Ayrton, Boysons, Boysons Reserve, the Acre North area, Glen Vista, Klip River, Nasrec area, Mondi, and Turfentine. And apart from just cleaning the streets, our workers are also street monitors, so they report on a regular basis any work that the city needs to be attending to, such as potholes, water leaks, any other infrastructure that needs the attention. So we back in 27 years ago, when the CRDs were being formalized, we also operating on an involuntary basis. Okay, next one. So this is our collaboration and our communications that we have, our key main stakeholders in tourism, our business partners, and then of course our partners on public space with Andrew Barker managing Calypso, and our social media and our collaboration with our government entities. We work closely with the City of Joburg and its departments and the Johannesburg Business Forum, the tourism agencies, as I mentioned, Joburg Tourism, Gauteng, and SA and South Africa Tourism, as well as the city improvement districts. Okay, you can continue going on the next page. Thank you, Katlego. Katlego, you can page. Okay, so our charity events that we have, we raise funds to be able to do more for the community. And now all this funding gets driven through our SOJO Helping Hands Foundation, so we can give back to the community. I did mention our community farm that we started last year, September, to engage the vulnerable people in the close catchment area to be able to create food security, feed themselves, as well as have a greater impact into their own society, learn a skill, learn entrepreneurship skills, and be able to sustain themselves. So that is where most of our funding are driven towards. We've also recently established our charity shop at the Mall of the South. Again, entrepreneurship skills. We're training people coming from the local community how to manage point of sale skills, how to run a store, how to do marketing. And it's actually proving quite successful in integrating people and transforming their lives. Thank you, Katlego. And these are just some of our business partners that we work together in the south of Johannesburg. I don't know if you're able to put the influencer. Thank you very much for this. I just had a brief introduction on our profile. With regards, thank you. So the month of September, we are engaging with a very high profile influencers with a campaign that we started called Stay Another Day in the South of Johannesburg. And we want to encourage visitors coming to the South. What else is there to do? What is there to see? Why should they be staying another day? most of the time we've experienced that when visitors come to the south for an event, be it at the FNB Stadium or the Johannesburg Expo Centre, they book outside of the area and they come in for the event and they leave. So the campaign says stay another day, and why should they be staying another day? Keep paging, Katlego. We kickstarted our first weekend, which was on the weekend of the 22nd and 23rd of August, with Lloyd Sele. He came through to Gold Reef City with his family, and he had a wonderful Friday and Saturday at the event at the Gold Reef City venue. And then from there, we took him, the actual theme is culture and family. We took them through to the Apartheid Museum and the FNB Stadium Heritage Tour. We combined this together to showcase on that particular weekend what they could experience in the South. And they had a wonderful time. And please follow us on our Facebook and Instagram. You will notice the hashtags Stay Another Day, and I will show you now his clipping as well of his experience. Carry on. Thank you. So he's quite an influencer. Everybody knows him, obviously. Carry on, Katlego. Then our weekend we just had now, the past weekend, we had local influencers, Mr. and Mrs. Big Butt and their family, as well as Retile. We took them through to the Glen Shopping Centre. They had a wonderful experience with their families, with doing fun stuff for the children. And then they also experienced the Taba Eco Hotel. On the following day, they did the Eco Drive, and we're still rolling out the reels that they had on social media. So continue. That's them, the family, the Big Bart family and Retile's family. Page next. Thank you. Retile had 3 children with her, and hopefully they seem to have had a wonderful time. We've raised over close to 100,000 for the influencers. We needed to actually also engage with them, so they won't do it for free. And luckily, we were able to raise the funds from our stakeholders to showcase their venues and their destinations. And then the third week, we're going to be showcasing the Mall of the South. There's a massive development happening there now. They're upgrading their food court. They're upgrading the new taxi rank that they're putting in there, and 2 drive-throughs as well. So we're hoping to showcase this towards the end of September. That will tie in with Heritage Day as well, and also the mall's 10th birthday that they're having in September. They've been now for 10 years. So we're looking forward to this particular weekend with influencers that we have lined up for that. Just page down, good level. Okay. We've got Nongoleko, and we also have our local Catherine Constantinidis, who's an influencer in the south of Johannesburg for that particular weekend. On to the next page. There we go. It's a bit difficult not trying to manage the slides by myself, so I do apologize about that. And then our last weekend will be in October, which we will showcase the 4 Racing Turfentine Racecourse with an event that they have there to highlight spring. And then we'll end off the evening at Gold Reef City with a wonderful activity in one of the I think they're going to be doing a challenge, a night casino challenge, and they will be choosing one of their charities that they'd like to donate the funds to. And we'll end off the evening there on our last day of the campaign. So that is what we're doing in the south of Johannesburg for the month of September. We're hoping it'll create a huge impact, and that people can follow from wherever they are seated. They can go onto our website, but not only onto ours, but on the influencers as well, onto the website that we've upgraded now currently, as well as our Facebook and our Instagram, where we're sharing the hashtag Stay Another Day in the south of Johannesburg. Okay, that is it from my side for the month of September. It's a pity we weren't able to play the video so that you could see as well, but it is on our website, so you may go and see it, and Katlego will also share the link with regards to that. But sorry, Katlego, sorry, there's quite a lot more to discuss about SOJO in detail.
No,
For the sake of time for this meeting, this is what I'm going to share now.
thank you for that, Nikki. Presentation. I just wanted, obviously, what I wanted to echo is really how you are able to navigate the south of Johannesburg and curate these experiences to kind of increase the users, but also cater for the users in a better way. And I just wanted, obviously, to highlight the various business relationships that you and SOJO possess, and how really from other precincts, that's really something that should always be explored, to see how you can curate better experiences in the precincts and strengthen really the heritage and tourism of the precincts that you represent and manage. And I really think SOJO is a really good example of this, and how businesses can work together to strengthen the area, but also strengthen their output. Yeah, I wanted to open up for questions for Nikki. Monica, you can come in.
Thanks, Nikki. I really wasn't aware of that incredible undertaking. I think it's remarkable what you're doing, especially in an area that is so diverse and rich in terms of the kind of activity, infrastructure, and also the environmental conditions. I think it's very challenging to be able to put that across. And I definitely will go into your website and I will watch the video, because I really like to know a lot more about it. We have been involved in Bosonia with some developments there, and I actually appreciate the incredible beauty of that area as well, not only from the diversity of the race course, those historical amenities, but also as a residential areas, the kind of fabric that have been developed there, and how active the population is in certain pockets. And I think you seem to have been able to capitalize on that and been able to put it across, which I think is quite remarkable. Do you have also a kind of program, because you're actually adjacent to remarkable nature reserve and very unique environments? Do you also incorporate that into your portfolio and promotion material?
Yes, thank you so much, Monica, for the wonderful words and encouragement that you've shared with us. We do include the Klip-Riversberg Nature Reserve Association, and also with the work that Andrew Barker has done through CLIPSA, the Klip-Riversberg Sustainability Association, that we work very closely together to promote the nature reserve. And of course, we've got a Taba Eco Hotel that's situated right there on the nature reserve itself. So they are partners of ours, and we work closely with promoting the nature reserve, what it's got to offer, the animals. Apparently, recently, we discovered that there's a lot of, well, it's not something that's only happening now, but we're being more proactive with regards to poaching of the animals on the nature reserve. So our chairman, who's Ruben Lowe, and who's also owner of the Taba Eco Hotel, are working together with 24/7 to put in a drone to cover the area with regards to poaching and any other illegal activities and crime that's happening on the nature reserve. It is about 680 hectares. Andrew can correct me on that one. And we're very proud of our environment and our green spaces. You spoke a lot about green spaces in your presentation, so we're extremely proud of what we have. But there's a lot of work still to be done, and much like any other CRD and other in the city and other areas, relying on our partnerships with the city of Johannesburg and their departments is crucial to the success of everything that unfolds. So thank you for that, Monica.
Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Nicky. Andrew, you can come.
Yeah, thanks, Nicky. Always good to hear what we're doing in the South. But I just wanted to add the KNRA is the jewel of Joburg in the South. And it's the work that CLIPSA does is to look at the context within which that jewel sits. And I think it's important to understand that jewel, as Nicky said, 680 hectares. They've identified over 270 bird species in the area, including Varroa eagles, the black eagles, which float around and come and eat all the dussies. We've got the game, but we also have the walks. We have 21 kilometers of hiking trails, and they have specialized bird walks and nature guides trained to take you on walks and show you about the trees and the nunus and the goodies that we sometimes walk past and don't realize. And it's absolutely phenomenal area, and it's 20 minutes from Sandton, and it's free. And I think, it's the sort of thing that we can promote extensively to our visitors that come into the area. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Andrew. So people can just search the CLIPSA organization, and then the website will pop up for the tour.
Yes, it's also on our website. It's on our website as well. So all our stakeholders are promoted on our website. You can click on there. And then if anybody watches the movie, you will also be able to see more details explained into the 15-minute clip, which is also on our website.
Thanks for that, Nicky. Any more questions for Nicky?
I don't know if I may. Sorry that.
No problem. Go ahead.
I'm back again. Nicky, I know that around Tuinfontein there have been a lot of issues with hijacked buildings. Is anything that you're doing? Because those are the challenges we have. We really completely appreciate what Andrew was saying about the unique natural environment, which I'm really very thrilled that is incorporated into a management and a promotion area. But how are you dealing with more social issues happening in pockets in the different areas that is, in a way, giving a bad name to the South?
Sure, that's a big one, Monica.
Sorry about that.
No, I fully agree that we do have, unfortunately, it's sad how the South has been divided into the Old South and the New South. So the Old South is the areas that we are challenged with, Tuinfontein, Rosettenville, that need a lot of beautification, a lot of intervention with regards to illegal activities happening, crime, social challenges that we have. We've had various consultants from the city of Johannesburg over the years coming to do an urban development framework to uplift those areas. We work closely with Andrew, and I can see his hand is up, so he can explain a little bit more detail with that. However, not enough is being done. So from our side as a business forum, we try and attack those issues on a high level with the city of Johannesburg and their departments to highlight the decay, to highlight the infrastructure itself. But a lot more needs to get done, and there just isn't enough investment coming and support from the city, sadly. So when it comes to hijacked buildings, as long as we identify them in good time, the law enforcement and bylaws are not strict enough to find alternative accommodation for people if we need to place them somewhere else. So it's not just the buildings. We're also finding that we have challenges with open public spaces where we have informal settlements sitting on the doorstep of tourism attractions. So it is yeah, it is something that we try to keep on top of things, but it's not always. You know, we need more support from the city and strong, you know, like strong influence coming from the departments that do carry that weight. It's an ongoing battle. I don't know if Andrew would like to add something. Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew, please come in.
Thanks, Coach Ethel. Yeah, look, the challenges we have in the South are unfortunate in that if you remember, we did have 2 regions when they were numbered and they were combined into Region F. And Region F tends to be focused on the central area. And one admits it's got huge problems and it's an important part of the area. But the city does not give adequate consideration to the rest of Region F, which comes right down into the southern areas of Johannesburg. So from an urban management services and attention budget, we tend to be at the end of the queue, which is very unfortunate. We have for many years been lobbying the city to split it back out again so that we can get focus on the southern parts of the region and the northern. There is sometimes sort of quiet whispers about Region F1 and Region F2, but it is a serious problem that we have to look at in terms of urban management and support for the areas of the South, which are seeing huge declines in the Turfantine and southern areas, the old southern areas. And much as like Hillbrow Berea being going into areas of huge squalor. And it's these areas as well that we're trying to promote for brownfield development instead of the city doing greenfield development, which is on the periphery of the city. We've got basic infrastructure. It is failing. So instead of just upgrading it, let's upgrade it to take higher density, which is better than spreading the infrastructure out into wider networks on the periphery when we can't maintain what we've got. So we've been promoting that sort of thinking and that sort of approach to turn development around from the periphery into the inner areas and try and upgrade these areas and make them attractive for investment. And I think this applies to all the urban areas that we have in the city. Thanks.
Thank you for that valuable input. Definitely encourage everyone to just go and watch the video by SOJO, but also avail yourself to go for the ecological tour. Are there any last minute comments before I just bring the meeting to a close? Okay, silence is good. So Andrew and Nicky, Nicky, thank you for presenting and sharing all the exciting things that are going on in SOJO. I'm sure definitely people in our network will show their support and be in attendance as well. So thank you for that. I will obviously upload everything as well on our website. Earl?
So Chairman, I see that just in terms of minutes and so forth, we're tracking these meetings very closely now. And we give full reports to the group head on what comes out of these meetings so that these considerations are then taken to a higher level, especially things that Andrew just spoke about now as well. So do you just create those links on the minutes, or do we get the transcript, or how do we go about this, man?
Okay, so usually we send through the minutes and the agenda a week prior to the meeting. So for these minutes, I'm sure they'll be ready in the next week or two, and then they'll be shared on our website. And through email as well. So I'll just request for Katie to just get them to you as soon as possible, since you need them for your record. Is that fine?
Yeah, that will be good, man. That will be good. If you can go back sometime, it will be nice.
Okay, okay.
Please,
I will
thanks.
ensure.
Thanks.
Definitely. Thanks for that, Earl. And as always, the next Urban Practice Forum will be on the 7th of October. And then the next chapter meeting will be on the 30th of September. We are having our annual general meeting this Friday. Um, and you see Katie has put a link to the presentations for you. So our AGM will be this Friday, and then as I said, there's a platform for to secure Gauteng meeting happening tomorrow, from 4 to 5:30 p.m. and also an inner city technical task team meeting tomorrow from 9 a.m. So please just look at our platforms for invites to that. With that being said, thank you all for attending the meeting today. Enjoy your Heritage Month, Arbor Month, and we will keep in touch and see you at the next session. Thank you all for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day and month.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
You, bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Cheers.